What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Hope all you're having a great night so far. Getting into this episode, Grand Hotel Season 1, Episode 5, You've Got Blackmail. I freaking love this episode. Every week, it's always something new that you learn about these characters. I'm at a point with this show right now where it's like, you can't trust not one of these characters at this point. It's like you have to question every character at this point. Or their motivations, their agenda. Like, you just have to question everything at this point. You cannot trust none of them. First of all, I feel bad for Mrs. P and her husband Malcolm and Jason, because basically we find out that her husband has cancer. The cancer has spread to both of his lungs now. And the doctor basically said, well, he suggested that Malcolm goes to Belgium, where they have this experimental treatment. But he would have to be gone for 6 months. And of course, it is expensive. So now the Parker family have to figure out how to pay for it. So they got to figure out how they're going to pay for it and stuff like that. And of course, Mrs. P was on the phone with their health insurance company. I'm not surprised that their health insurance is not going to cover it, the treatment and stuff. I'm not shocked, because that's how messy the American healthcare system. That's how, spotty it is. It's like you go all these years, and like Mrs. P said, she paid for her healthcare for 20 years. And they still won't cover his treatments, her husband's treatment. That's how it is. Sadly, that's just how it is. It's like you pay all this money for health care, for health insurance, and when you finally do get sick and you really need it, you need these treatments, your health insurance isn't willing to cover it. That's the sad reality of how that system works, That's why sometimes I question, why do we have health insurance? Because when we need it the most, it's no good. It's of no use. It's like, what are you paying all these years and all this money for in health insurance that you're not going to be able to use anyway? Because you already know how these people are. They come up with all this crap about your policy and this, that, and the third. It's a bunch of BS. So Jason's idea is he wants to blame the hotel for his father's cancer, because he thinks that the hotel might have been responsible for his dad getting cancer. So he wants to sue. I agreed with Mrs. P at that point. It's possible the hotel, because, he works in maintenance. Malcolm works in maintenance. So he's exposed to all type of toxins and stuff like that, which is true. But they have no proof that the hotel is responsible for that. You have no proof whatsoever. And Mrs. P, the whole, like she keeps saying, the Mendoza family has been good to them for years. I believe that, that hotel is basically where she met Malcolm at. That's where they had their first kiss and all that. Her family was basically raised in that hotel all these years. So she has that loyalty towards them. Jason, on the other hand, seems like he has no loyalty to that hotel at all. I understand where Mrs. P coming from. I mean, you got to think about it. That the Mendoza family employed her entire family. They gave her a job. She's worked there for 20 years. They gave her husband a job. He's worked there for 20 years. Now they gave her son a job. They gave that whole family a job. So I could see why she's loyal to them, because they've been loyal to her for the most part. But, Mrs. P got to a point where she started thinking about suing the hotel and stuff like that. She agreed with Jason that they should sue. I understand where Mrs. P is coming from, but, she's trying to keep her husband alive. But Malcolm, of course, doesn't want to take the treatments in Belgium because he doesn't want to be away for 6 months. And there's no guarantee because it's experimental, which I totally understand. I felt like if Mrs. P would have just went to Santiago and told him what was going on, he more than likely would have wrote her a check to cover the cost if she would have went to him. Even when Santiago came to talk to her about Ingrid and stuff, he asked her, is everything all right? She lied and said, yeah. She should have just told him that, what was going on with Malcolm, and to see if he could cut her a check. You know what I mean? Like, instead of going behind his back, contemplating suing his business when you know the hotel is going through financial trouble. You know what I mean? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, even if the hotel is responsible, they would have to go into court. They would have to prove it. This could take months. You know what I mean? Like, it could take months. It could take years. Her husband doesn't have months and years. You know, he needs this treatment now. But at the same time, Jason is under the impression that if they filed a lawsuit, then the Mendoza family would like to, you know, they might settle without having to go to court. I could see that being a possibility, but with Santiago, I don't think it would be, because he seems like the type of person, he would see it as betrayal if she filed that lawsuit. He would see it as her being disloyal. So I don't think he would settle the case just to, you know, be petty about it. But I feel like that's the wrong way to go, because you have no proof that they did it. You know, that the hotel was responsible for that. So why ruin a friendship over something that you can't prove right now? I mean, it's just a messy situation at this point. Speaking of messy, so Gigi and Santiago basically find out that Ingrid is the one pregnant by Javi. Javi's the one who got her pregnant, allegedly. So he comes up with this idea. So Santiago wants Alicia to pull out a memo that basically states that that the employees are not to fraternize with each other. If you work for the hotel, then you can't have no type of romantic relationship at all. Which puts a damper on her little thing with Danny. And it puts Marissa and Yoli's situation at risk too, because Marissa works in the spa at the hotel and she's basically dating Yoli. So because of Javi, basically everybody who messing around in the hotel got to shut it down, or at least be more discreet about it due to the memo. Alicia, I'm not feeling her and Danny no more. I was in the beginning. In the first few episodes, I was feeling them until we found out Danny had a girlfriend back home named Heather. That's when I felt like a damn fool shipping that relationship. I really did. Because if y'all go back to my first review of this show, the first episode, then you know I was pulling hard for them to be a couple. Until we found out Danny had a girlfriend. I said, damn. I said, nope. Can't ship this couple no more. Sad as it is, because they do got chemistry, but I'm like, nah, I can't do it. He a two-timing lying ass, so I can't do it. Nope. So anyway, once, you know, Yoli and Marissa were in that room in between Marissa's clients or whatever, and one of her co-workers heard her in there with somebody else. So, of course, the co-worker went to Alicia and started snitching, and which prompted Alicia to start an investigation on Marissa. And so Yoli had to try to shut the investigation down by coming to Alicia, trying to, you know, put on the sister act routine, like, oh, we're sisters, I need you to do me a favor. And I understood where Alicia was coming from at first. Alicia didn't want to help Yoli at first because Yoli tried to pull the sister card when all these years that they've been stepsisters, Yoli has never treated Alicia like a sister. Her and Carolina never had nothing nice to say about Alicia. Now when you need something, you want to act like she's your sister all of a sudden. So I get where Alicia was coming from with that. I would have probably done the same exact thing. Until, you know, Yoli basically had to break it down and let Alicia know that her and Marissa were, you know, messing around. She was the one fraternizing with Marissa. And Alicia was surprised because she didn't even know Yoli was gay or bisexual. She had no idea. But Yoli claims she don't know what she is. She's still trying to figure herself out. See, I believed that at first until we got towards the end of this episode, and then I found out it was a little bit more complicated than that. Yoli got some damn secrets of her own. So Alicia decided to shut the investigation down. Marissa gets to keep her job, and she her and Yoli finally got to a place where they're claiming each other as sisters now, which I thought was a cool scene. I liked it. But the bombshell that we found out was Yoli has this box, and in the box there's pictures of her and another girl kissing in a photo booth. The other girl happened to be Danny's sister Sky, who went missing. I said, what the fuck? I was surprised as shit when I seen that. I said, Yoli and Sky? So Yoli was the one who wrote that love letter to Sky that Danny found. It wasn't Mateo that wrote that letter. It was Yoli. I said, damn. See, this is what I'm talking about. Everybody on this show got some damn secrets. Everybody got freaking secrets on this show. I said, I'll be damned. Oof, wait until Danny find out about that one. I can't believe that. So, moving on from that, I swear every week when we get a new episode of this show, every week I cannot stand Ingrid. I just dislike her more and more. Ingrid is annoying as shit. Like, she's a gold digger with a capital G. So, when she finally blurted out to Santiago and Gigi that she was the pregnant one, that she was pregnant by Javi, Gigi and Carolina decided to invite her out to lunch. Because Gigi was softening up towards Ingrid because she saw herself in Ingrid back when she was younger and she had to raise Jolie and Carolina by herself after her ex-husband ran off and basically abandoned them. And of course, Gigi was pissed at Carolina because Carolina was basically defending her father, trying to say, oh, it's two sides to every story. Gigi didn't want to hear that shit. She was like, nope, it ain't no two sides in this story. It's only one side. Your father abandoned us, period. There is no other side to the story. Like, Gigi didn't want to hear shit else. So that's why she kind of took a liking to Ingrid or whatever. And she asked Mateo about Ingrid. And Mateo basically came up with this whole lie talking about, oh, Ingrid, she's honest, she's this. I said, Mateo, stop that lying. Because your nose is about to grow like Pinocchio. Stop lying. She ain't no honest. Honest my ass. And while Gigi was asking Mateo about Ingrid, Santiago went to Mrs. P about Ingrid. Mrs. P broke it down. Mrs. P was like, she a liar. She's conniving. She's this. She's lazy. Mrs. P was not holding back her dislike for Ingrid. She was definitely not holding back. And of course, you know, Gigi basically tried to get Santiago to soften up towards Ingrid. So Santiago was like, all right, I'm going to invite her over to, you know, a family dinner tonight. We're going to talk. So they get to the family dinner. And that dinner did not go as planned, which I figured it wouldn't. Basically, Javi wanted to talk about money or whatever because he wants Santiago basically to pay for the baby, basically, you know, doctor's appointments, you know, future baby furniture and all that mess. He wants his dad to pay for it. Santiago was willing to pay for it, but he's not no fool though. Santiago not stupid. He had a whole documentation which stated, because that's what he was worried about. He was worried about Ingrid potentially suing the hotel. So he had her sign a consent form that stated that her relationship with Javi was strictly consensual. And also a part of the document was a paternity test. He wanted Ingrid to take a paternity test. She got super offended, super angry about it. She knew exactly what she was doing. Because she knew once he mentioned a paternity test, she knew her ass was busted. Because once they do a paternity test, she know what it's going to say. That Javi's not the father, obviously. So she tried to flip the switch. You know, she tried to flip the script and make it, you know, seem like Santiago was the bad guy. And of course, Javi, little stupid ass, gonna sit there defending her. I don't understand how that whole table, Alicia, Gigi, Javi, they were all pissed at Santiago for wanting a paternity test. Are y'all stupid? I've seen people who are not rich get a paternity test. I'm like, it's standard. It's a formality. Who's not going to get a paternity test? Especially when you know that the person that Javi slept with, it was just a one-night stand. You know what I'm saying? It was a one-night stand. Who's to say that she wasn't sleeping with somebody else at the time? And mind you, they never even slept together. I can't wait until Gigi and until Santiago find out. And that's exactly what Mateo, every week Mateo keeps trying to tell Ingrid she's biting off more than she could chew with the Mendoza family. Ingrid continues to not want to listen. Like, he pulled her to the side and they got into a little heated little argument, and that's when Carolina noticed it when she was coming to pick Ingrid up for her lunch date with her and Gigi. She noticed that they were having a little, spat or whatever. I don't understand how they could sit there and be mad when it's just standard. Why wouldn't you want to be sure that the child is his? I mean, y'all come from a wealthy family. Y'all own a hotel. Y'all got some money. Why not get a paternity test? It's just standard. So, of course, Santiago decided to give them the money. No strings attached. No paternity test. No nothing. Javi is so damn stupid. Javi just dumb. Like, and it's funny how Alicia and them try to sit there talking about Santiago trying to control everybody. It's not about control. He's not stupid. That's why. It's about protecting his son, protecting his family from gold diggers. That's what it's about. So he decided to give them the money. He let Ingrid move into the hotel rent-free with a housekeeper and all that. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Her house of cards are going to start falling at some point, because they're going to find out that she's lying. At some point, they're going to find out. And that point was tonight. Because Gigi basically found out thanks to Carolina, of all people. Because Carolina told her how she saw Mateo and Ingrid hanging around each other before. Plus, she saw them the same day looking like they had a argument, because it looked like Mateo was manhandling her and they were having an argument. So Gigi put two and two together right there. And it's only a matter of time before she tells Santiago. If she tells Santiago. Because you never know what Gigi's going to do with that information to her advantage. You never know. So anyway, moving on from that. Danny continues to just not be subtle at all. Jason kept telling him to be subtle. Keep your anger in check. All that. Because he wanted to follow Mateo around to see who was blackmailing him and stuff like that, to find out more about what Mateo did to Sky. So when he saw Mateo leaving, he followed Mateo to some gym. So when Mateo saw him, he wanted Danny to get in the boxing ring with him and spar with him. So when they were sparring, they were getting it in the gym or whatever, and Mateo basically said too many things. Basically saying that, Danny fights like a girl, and, egging him on. So Danny just snapped. And started beating on Mateo and stuff, like, to the point where some of the guys at the gym had to break it up. Like, he just lost his cool. See, this is what I'm talking about. Danny is not subtle at all. It's like, bro, I understand you think this guy has something to do with your sister, but until you have ironclad proof, you need to check your anger at the door, bro. Because you're going to give yourself away. So Mateo wanted to talk with Danny or whatever, because he felt like it was something about Danny or whatever. So he told Danny basically, you owe me a favor for not firing you and stuff like that, for beating on him basically. So the blackmailer called Mateo for the $200,000. And he wanted him to deliver it to a hotel room, but he didn't want Mateo to deliver it. He wanted Mateo to send somebody else. So Mateo sent Danny. When Danny got to the room, the phone rang. The blackmailer told him to drop it down the laundry chute at the end of the hall. So when he did it, Danny tried to haul ass down to the laundry room to catch the blackmailer, but he couldn't catch him. So unbeknownst to the blackmailer, Mateo put a tracker on the bag that had the money in it. See, that's so typical. And you could tell whoever the blackmailer was, he was stupid. Because that's an old trick. To put a tracking device on the bag. They used to do that all the time back in the day. I remember the feds used to do that. Like, if you watch any, like, FBI files and stuff, when they used to have to deal with kidnappers and stuff for ransom and all that, they would put a tracker on the bag. Most smart people would think that there's a tracker in the bag, so they had dumped the bag and put the money in a different bag so they couldn't be tracked. Obviously, the blackmailer was amateur. So they figured out that whoever the blackmailer was, Danny figured that whoever the blackmailer was had to have worked at the hotel. Obviously, because that person is amateur as all hell. So, come to find out, when Mateo was tracking the person, the blackmailer was freaking Nelson, the concierge at the hotel. The one that always, you know, trying to be up in Jason and Danny business and stuff like that. He was the blackmailer. So Danny ended up figuring that out and went to Nelson's house or whatever in the back alley. That's when he saw Mateo confronting Nelson. Nelson admitted that he know what happened to Sky because he witnessed it the night of the hurricane. But he also admitted that Mateo wasn't the one who did something to Sky. It was somebody else. So when Mateo took the money, he took the money back. Danny's phone kept ringing because his girlfriend Heather been trying to reach him all day. So the phone was vibrating, and that's when Mateo heard the vibrations. But he started chasing after Nelson because Nelson ran. Nelson ran into the street and a damn semi truck hit him. I was like, oh shit, the truck done hit Nelson. So now Nelson is in ICU on life support. So when Mateo went to the hospital to check on, to look in on Nelson, he was watching Nelson, but then when Mateo walked out the room, the damn thing was beeping. So Nelson died. Mateo done took that boy off. Like, he pulled the plug on Nelson because Nelson knew the secret. He knew who attacked Sky. So basically now with Nelson dead, the secret dies with him. So now Danny got to figure out another way to find out what happened. I said, damn, everybody on this damn show got secrets. Like, you just can't trust nobody on this show. Nobody. You can't trust none of them. They all got some type of agenda or some type of secret that they're hiding. I was like, damn, these some sneaky ass people. But anyway, hit the comment section. Let me know what y'all thought about this episode. I'll see y'all later. Have a good night. Peace.